Hello and welcome back to my Perfect Pastimes channel on YouTube. I'm having to do a voiceover because the sounds that were made when I recorded this originally were all over the place, and there were several interruptions, including a hailstorm. So I thought I'd do a voiceover to help you. As a base, I'm using Vilene S80, which is heavy pelmet interfacing, and I've just checked that it goes around my inner waterproof pot, and there's going to be a good overlap. And this is my base fabric that I will be stitching into. It's slightly larger than the Vilene, so I have a bit of a turn up each side, and that it fits quite comfortably. I have lots of pieces of felt I made some time ago when I was on a felting course. There is merino and silk, and merino and finish wool. That's the two colours there. And I've cut them up and laid them over my base fabric and generally pinned them for the moment. I find when I'm sewing things like this, the pins can get in the way, so with some ordinary sewing thread I'm using a glue stitch or invisible basting stitch just to secure the patches down to the backing fabric. If you haven't heard of it or done this stitch before, it's just a long stitch on the back and a very tiny stitch on the front, so you can hardly see it. It will stay in. You can take it out if you wish, but there's not really much point. The felt seems to absorb most of the stitches anyway. And I'm just going around each of the patches so they're secure and I can take out the pins. There's nothing more annoying than battling with pins when you're just trying to get into the stitching flow, as it were. Felt generally is quite soft to stitch into, but some of the silk was quite firm, I found. As long as you've got a needle that's big enough for the thread and is sharp, you should have no troubles with this. So I'll continue on round each of the patches. Here I'm showing you that the larger stitches are on the back. I've gone up and down each seam of patch, and I will now continue all the way around just to make sure that they're stuck to the fabric and there are no pins. I've now finished doing all the stay stitching, and you can see on the back it's the large stitches on the back, the small stitches on the front, so you can't see them, and they shouldn't interfere, not that it would matter with what we're going to be doing, what I'm going to be doing next. I've checked it for size around the plant pot. This is my lovely plant I got in the reduced section, which I was really pleased with. There is an overlap of the under fabric. I will have the S80 between the fabric and the pot, and I've made it so that these fabrics overlap the join, so there won't be too much of a seam to see. Also, it is a little bit on the loose side, but when you stitch it will shrink. I also have a few bits of dirt from the pot there. I have a few little offcuts I may or may not stitch with, I'm not sure yet. Add a little bit of extra layer. Now, next thing I'm going to do is, this is my nest box. All my end of threads, when I can open it. It's nearly 100 years old, this 30s Listo tin. All my ends go in here, and I'm not going to be too fussy and choose any colours that I think match at the time. That's a 6 strand, so I think I'll cut that down to 3. Put that back in my nest box. And pick up a needle. And then I'm going to just start sewing. And I'm going to sew whatever takes my fancy at the moment, I think. I'm going to try and leave a little bit of the ends, because they're going to fold over each other, if you saw the minute ago when I put it up against the actual pot. Just to knot on the back. And I think here I'll do just a running stitch. Of course the felt's like butter to sew through. At the same time, the stitches will sit down into the felt quite a way, so I'm being quite generous with the size of the stitches. I want to be able to see them a little bit, otherwise there's not much point putting the hours in, is there? Could do with a slightly larger eye on this needle to make the hole for the thread, which is 3 strands of cotton floss at the moment. There's all sorts in my bird's nest, even if I take that out. Perlays, tapestry, oh, there's even some tubular there, look, that'd be nice. I think that's a baker's string. Anyway, everything that hasn't got a place to be goes in there, and sometimes it's lovely just to, sorry, I'm just threading a needle, but I'm going to go for a slightly larger eye needle. I have lots of, this is my needles pin cushion. And I'm trying to find something, that's what I want. A nice chenille, nice big easy eye, and sharp point. That's better, isn't it? It goes straight through and along. I think I'll keep going till I've used this bit of thread up. You can use any stitches you like for doing this. I mainly stick to a running stitch when I'm doing the cotton ones. Some of the parallel bar stitch type, sometimes blanket stitch around edges. I found all this thread, felt, on a recent clear out of my studio, so I thought I wouldn't mind using some, just to see how it goes. Got to be used. What can I go for now? I do have some nice oranges in here. I'm trying not to plan the colours too much, but we all know how that goes. Then I'll put all 6 strands of this one in. I have a nice big eye. Simple knot on the back. I might do a line down this way this time. You can go in any directions. That's bringing all that together now. There. Get down to here. I'll turn around the other way and go back up again, I think. I don't know if you can hear all the birds outside. It's a bit of a grey day out there, but it's after 3 o'clock. They seem to have a big chat session at around 3 o'clock. Then they'll go and feed again before dinner, before night time, bedtime. That bit of felt there is merino and silk, and it can be a bit tough on the silk parts, surprisingly. I'm going to blanket stitch this one, I think. Go around a corner. Into the same hole to go around the corner again. That was a good example of why the stay stitching helps the basting down. You don't get caught up in all the needles then. The pins, sorry. I come round this corner now. I will now go and add another piece of that colour thread, finish that shape, and I'll add some more stitching. I've got an exciting amount of threads in there to add. I'll come back to you when I've done some more. I'm a couple of days later and I've finished all the stitching that I want to do on this piece for the minute. I decided to go with the leaf theme to tie in with the plant that's going in the pot. Sorry for the shadow. I've added beads and couching and stitches. I've also made a base that's the width across of the widest part of the pot. I just covered it in a spare bit of felt. I've taken the plant out and you can see how this fits into my waterproof plant pot. And this is S80. pelmet Vilene, and that fits with a centimetre overlap around the top, which is the widest part. Just want to check that my piece of fabric fits the size of the S80, and this part folds down, and then we have an overlap for the bottom. This top part I'm going to pin so it's on the right place. Leave that bit free. Now I know that there needs to be a 1 centimetre overlap. And these pieces will overlap that. For the moment, I'm going to leave that off, and I'm going to just stitch all along here. I stitched the white liner down all around, and I've now overlapped the Vilene. I'm just stitching this down, pin that out the way. Just to stop it spreading anywhere. just going to ladder those together. Just so it's held. It's me in voiceover mode again. I seem to have been enjoying myself so much I forgot to talk to you. I also have a farm opposite me which is being renovated, and you've probably heard strange bangings and beepers and things going off anyway, as well as a bit of rain on the roof. There's not a lot I can do about that, I'm afraid, but now I'm doing a voiceover. All you should be able to hear is a dog snoring beside me. There she goes. I've just finished laddering the under piece of fabric together. That's a little running stitch where you take a stitch on each side of a fabric and pull it together. It's mainly just to make it a bit easier to work on. The felt will cover it. The piece on the inside won't be seen because it will be under the plant pot. When we make these pieces of fabric, especially with something as pliable as felt, the stitches can tend to make it shorter than we think. It pulls it in quite considerably. I did give this plenty of overlap at the start. The plant pot I forgot was slightly bigger than the waterproof pot I'm going to put on the inside, so that took up some of my overlap. I also had the stitching taking up some of the overlap, and I only just had enough left to actually fold over each other, and I was very lucky. But it is a patchy piece. I could have put pieces of felt over the patch holes. It wouldn't have made any difference. It's just something pretty to look at, and it's using things up out of my studio that have been hanging around for an awful long time. There was a possibility of a little hole there. Again, I could have patched it, but I just gave it a wiggle and it fitted quite nicely. I can use stitching to pull it together. Back for another rummage in my thread nest box. I just want to put some stitches over the overlaps to join them together and to continue the stitching that follows all the way around. Another nice green. I think it's a stranded floss again, the way it's separated. I'm just going to add to the stitching. I will start by burying the knot between the felt and the backing fabric so that it's not through the S80, and I will mostly do the stitching through just the felt now. It's mainly just to join them up together and make it more cohesive with the rest of the stitch work that's gone on around. I hope you let me know if you try some of these pots at home. I have quite a lot of house plants, and some of the ceramic pots that go over the top are astronomical in price. And as a textile person, it seems right that I have textile pot covers, really. I've now finished my cylinder. And I'm happy has enough stitches on it, enough decoration on it, and everything fits. This is the base bit now. I'm just gonna pin that there. And find the opposite point. Pin that there. And the quarter points. You can pin it as much as you want to. Put one more there, I think. All I'm going to do, nice long piece of thread. Is I'm just going to whip them together. I'm going to continue right the way around until that's finished. So there we have it. It's been stitched all around the base. And the waterproof plant fits, and the plant pot fits. Just got to put the plant in it. Well, thank you for watching. Please comment below if you managed to make your own versions. As I've said before, the tutorial for the cloth versions is over on my WordPress blog, View from Our Hill. I'll put the link down in the description below. Bye!